I am Ator Ewan. Welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show. Oh, WWE Universe! Don't you dare be sour. Subscribe to the Sarah O'Connell Show and feel the power.
Welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show.
It's Ewan, also known as Biggie. Welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show. How are you today?
I'm very good. By the way, salute to you for actually pronouncing my name correctly because it is very, very rare. So thank you very much. It's always butchered, and I'm doing well. Thank you.
That's outrageous. Wow. It's important to know who I'm speaking to, right?
It is. It is. Thank you.
So first question, very important. Wanted to ask you this for a couple of years. How is your neck doing? Like everyone else, I was really worried when it happened, and I hope you're just healing and doing well.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I feel great. The neck feels great too. I'm very fortunate. There was no displacement of the bone at all when I broke my neck, and everything stayed in place. So it was just a matter of waiting for everything to heal. So I feel great. I really don't have any limitations, no issues at all, and I'm really thankful for that.
I'm so happy to hear that. You are, of course, a legendary WWE superstar. You're a former powerlifter, a football player, a state champion wrestler as well. But can you tell me, when you were a tiny kid, what did you aspire to be when you were growing up?
For me, I always wanted to play football. That was a dream. But I also think I wanted to find a way to make an impact on people's lives positively. I feel like from an early age, that was something that always was kind of prescient for me. And I didn't know how. And for me, like for a while in college, I was pre-med because I thought, oh, I can help save people's lives. And I think I just wanted to make sure that before I left this earth, that I was living a life that did more positive, did more good than more harm. And for a while, I kind of bounced around with a lot of different things, trying to find my way, trying to find the thing that I really enjoyed and that was fulfilling, but also was a blessing to others. And when I started wrestling, I kind of thought, man, I'm giving up on that dream because it's kind of a selfish pursuit. But it's as I got older, as I got deeper into my career, I realized, no, even though you're not saving lives per se on a gurney or in a hospital, I do think we have an opportunity with our platform, with what we do, to positively shape lives. And that's something that is really important to me.
I've seen that throughout your career. It's a thing that really does brighten up people's lives. And you're speaking about people in the hospital, it might be their favorite show and the highlight of their week as well.
Right.
Can you tell me, when you first fell in love with wrestling, which wrestlers were the ones that you were a huge fan of growing up?
As a kid, I loved Goldberg. He was my favorite. I actually got to meet him at a signing this is the 90s. This is over 25 years ago when I was a kid. And I still have this vivid memory. The interaction with him was maybe 30 seconds. We were in a long line, but he was so polite. He took his time to smile. I was on my way to church with my dad. We were both wearing suits, and I remember him complimenting us on our suits. So it's just one of those memories. There's so much I forget from childhood, but that's one of those things that's crystallized in my head because he took the time to just be cordial, to be kind, and it meant a lot to me. I was a big fan of Goldberg as a kid. I love Vader. I love Ron Simmons. I love Scott Steiner. I think a lot of the guys who felt larger than life, who were muscular, who were athletic, the big guys, I really gravitated towards. So yeah, I started watching wrestling as a kid. Some of my very earliest memories are watching wrestling in the living room. For a while, my sisters loved it too. They eventually grew out of it. I used to watch with my dad as well. But I think I got to a point. Actually, I was a big WCW guy. So it was around the time that WCW got sold and got folded into WWE.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that. It was also around the same age. I was around like 13 at the time too. So I thought, okay, I meet so many people who say they grew out of wrestling. And I think I was one of those people too, who at 13 thought, okay, I'll move on. And then when I got the opportunity to be a part of this company, to be in the industry in 2009, I hadn't really been watching for about a decade. So I had a lot of catching up to do. But yeah, I definitely grew up loving it as a kid.
So you got into wrestling, you debuted at Florida Championship Wrestling in 2009. I saw some footage from a promo day, and one of the characters you were trying was called Wendell, and it was so much fun. I love seeing you do all that stuff.
Yeah, it was very silly. The kind of the inspiration for the character was a bit of Steve Urkel, a bit of the Hulk, just this very mild-mannered guy who was kind of, afraid of confrontation, but all it took was something to set him off, and then there unleashes his inner beast. At the time in FCW, you're always looking for something to separate yourself. You know, I'm not the tallest. I'm not 6 feet tall. And I know I'm a bigger guy. I'm a muscular guy, but I was trying to think, you know, at the time we had Mark Henry, we had, you know, Brock, you had so many people around who were, you know, Big Show, who are massive human beings. And I was always trying to find my footing. Like, how do I separate myself? How am I unique? And for a while, I was just playing around with different things. I got to have, I think I wrestled one match under that gimmick. It was a lot of fun. And it was just really cool because my class, as I refer to them, of other wrestlers in FCW, really enjoyed it and took to it. So it was a lot of fun. I don't know if it was for me. I was trying to find something that I could take to the main roster one day, and I don't think that would have really done me much good. But it was one of those things that really helped me get out of my shell and open up and just try things. And I really encourage young talent too, who are trying to find themselves. Like, don't be afraid to try silly things. Don't be afraid to try things that might not, you know, it might not be a fully fleshed out character for TV, but just try things, throw things at the wall, try different promo styles. You never know, because really just playing with different things. So many times during my career, I was able to say, oh, maybe I can't do it exactly like that, but I can take a bit from this old gimmick and I could tweak it here, or I can do that. So it just really opens your mind up. So don't be afraid to try things. It's always something that I try to encourage young talent, is just have fun, be adventurous, and you never know, you might land on something that is money.
Yeah, it's really good advice. And I think you can apply that to anything you're doing, right? Just try something new, be creative, be brave, take chances. How long, when you first start out in the ring, does it take to really sort of learn the ropes and get proficient on a microphone so you can put on that first match and just get through it?
Yeah, so it you know, everyone takes things at a different pace, at a different speed. I think for me, it took a while. I'm not saying I was terrible at the bit. Actually, I'll take that back. I was kind of terrible, but for me, I was at least able to lean on my athleticism for a while. You know, I wasn't uncoordinated. I've been a lifelong athlete. It's something I played college football at Iowa, go Hawks. But yeah, it's something that at least I was able to lean on that. So it took me a while to learn the craft, to learn how to sell as well, to learn how to be able to connect with people, you know, because in football, you got a helmet on. It's all about how tough you are. You don't show vulnerability. And a huge part of our industry is being able to, especially as a baby face, is to be able to show that you're in peril, to show that you're in pain, to be able to reach out to that kid who's sitting, you know, 10 rows deep, and that they can connect with you. So that took me some time, is to really learn to sell, to learn to be an entertainer as well, because I know this sounds ridiculous to anyone who's seen me over the last decade, but I really was an introvert. I was for much of my life very quiet, just kept to myself. And you know, when I got signed in 2009, so many of my teammates at Iowa were like, hey, you know, you got to be a big personality. You got to be able to talk. You got to be able to do all those things. But I think for me, I always had that budding entertainer within me, inside of me. You know, something I did as a kid. I would just do silly things to try to entertain my sisters and entertain myself. So it just took a while for me to be able to bring that out. But
yeah,
even my first year on the main roster, if you look back to like 2012, even 2013, when I was on my own, it wasn't really until 2015 that I was really able to demonstrate this fun personality and really able to open up, and I felt more comfortable. And a lot of that, you know, was really due, it's a testament to my incredible partners in Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, and what we were able to build with the New Day is really just leaning into that fun. And it allowed me to take more chances, and I got more comfortable taking chances and trying new things and being silly and being fun. And it really just opened up the world for me. And I became a much better performer because of that time.
I had the opportunity to interview Ryan Nemeth the other day, and you happened to be his first televised match in FCW, and he spoke really highly of you. So that was great.
Him. Yeah, he's a great dude. We go way back. I know a lot of people are only used to his last few years of his wrestling career, but yeah, we're talking about over a decade we were in the ring together. And you know, that was I have such an interesting time in our lives being in FCW, because you know, there's only like 40 of us in a warehouse, and we were all under WWE contract. But at the time, you know, you kind of feel like you're on an island. So We were doing it for not much money and hoping to one day get to the main roster. So yeah, he was definitely one of us down there who was doing it, and I have a lot of respect for him, and he's a good dude.
Absolutely. And so moving on to NXT, you pinned opponents, of course, famously for 5 counts. Before that, King Kong Bundy did it too. It was fun to see that brought back. Did you ever get the chance to meet him and talk about that maybe?
No, I never did, unfortunately, before he passed. We followed each other on Twitter for a little while, so there were some interactions there. But no, I never got a chance to meet him, unfortunately. But yeah, no, he's someone that I definitely had a lot of respect for, and I was very thankful that he was gracious about me borrowing his gimmick. Because it was his. He's the one that made it famous, and it is always, especially as a young talent, as a young wrestler, when you get the cosign from legends or the OGs that came before you, or even just a thumbs up, it really means a lot. To have the respect of guys that you grew up watching. And that was always my hope, is that he took it as a sign of respect and homage, as opposed to just me stealing it. So yeah, unfortunately, I never got that chance, but salute to the legend, King Kong Bundy.
Very much so. Now we're going to move on to Raw. You made your debut with Dolph Ziggler, of course, and AJ Lee. Your first ever match was at WrestleMania 29 against Team Hell No. Was that intimidating? Was it exciting? What was that like, having your first main roster match on that stage?
Yeah, it was a big deal for me. Definitely
Yeah.
like nerve-wracking to a degree. But I was just surrounded by superstars. It is in that match, like you said, it's Team Hell No. It's Daniel Bryan, it's Kane. I'm teaming with Dolph, and next to us is AJ. So for me to have my first match on the main roster with all this incredible talent, in New York, in Jersey, is incredible. And it was one thing I just wanted to make sure that I did the best I could. Looking back, I realized how green I was at the time, and I needed more time to grow. But I'm so thankful for that opportunity. I got the ball. I got opportunities that a lot of people who were more talented than I at the time didn't get. So I'm really, really thankful for that. Yeah, it's one of those things where I definitely have this memory of my first time coming out at WrestleMania, and just the sea of people around you. And it's so interesting too, because so many people ask, hey, is it really nerve-wracking wrestling in front of 80,000, 100,000 people? And it's kind of the inverse. Like, it's more nerve-wracking to wrestle in front of 10 people, in front of a dozen people, because you can hear every conversation. It feels like they're judging you. You're looking in their eyes. But with 80,000, it just feels like a sea of people. So in many ways, it's much easier to wrestle in front of that many people. And just the energy of the crowd was incredible. But that's a special moment, and one that I'm really thankful for.
2014, you form the New Day with Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. You start off as preachers, and then you go on and you get to start having more fun and entertaining the crowd like no other faction or group in history. You've got amazing chemistry, and I love every time you're together, be it in the ring or outside the ring. I've just loved everything you've ever done. What do those guys mean to you now? You're more than a team, aren't you? Your family.
Yeah, no, very much so. And I think a lot of times that term can be cliche, but for us, it's real. And every time I see those guys now, I let them know how much I don't take this for granted, how much I appreciate them. We got to do the Drew Barrymore show recently, all of us together. And those moments, I'm getting chills just thinking about it, because those moments are so special. We really built something together. We started out in 2014, and I'd known Kofi before then. I was in FCW with Woods as well. And we were all friendly, but this was the first time we really came together. And I think just very quickly, we realized how much chemistry we have. We realized how tight we were, that we saw the business the same way. And when we were met with resistance, when the door was closed in our face, there was never bickering.
In 2020, the pandemic hits. Initially, WWE doesn't stop producing shows, and they're without an audience to start with. But then they introduced the idea of the Thunderdome, where there's these big screens, like being surrounded by a trillion iPads, I guess. And the audience had the chance to get a virtual ticket and have their face on the screen, so that the wrestlers were performing to a virtual crowd. Now, it was in that condition that you won the Intercontinental Championship from Sami Zayn. What was that like, that atmosphere?
Weird.
Yeah.
Very weird. Everything we do, they teach you, really the foundation of our industry, of our business, is really about crowd interaction. It's about, if you have an incredible 30, you can have an hour match, but if no one is making a sound, if they're sitting on their hands, you failed. That's always, what we have been taught. as pro wrestlers. It's about engaging the crowd. It's about making them cheer. It's about making them boo. And now we're in this environment where that's not possible. We just have screens in front of us. And now you're also worried about, COVID, which is, ravaging the world. So it was a very interesting time. But I think one of the interesting things for us is we had to adapt. So there were certain things. I remember the Usos, like immediately they were like, oh, we should talk a lot, be vocal. And that was kind of where that came from, is they realized, okay, how do we adjust to this new environment?
Yeah.
Because before, if you're in there with 50,000 screaming people, if there isn't a mic right in front of you, you're not going to hear that. But the interesting thing with the Thunderdome was you could hear, like, we could have conversations and the audience at home can hear every single thing because it's so quiet. So it really just, it forced us to adjust. And it was different, winning a championship without people there is so different, because I think of all the moments that are so special to me are about being in front of people's, cashing in, Money in the Bank, winning the Money in the Bank. All those things are so incredible because I think about how the crowd made me feel.
Yeah.
I think about how they got off their feet. I think about Drew, in the story that he's telling right now. But he was a world champion, but during the pandemic, he didn't get the opportunity to be out there in front of fans and to feel that love and to be embraced by it, because that's what we work for. That's what really drives you as a performer. That's what fulfills you. That's what really like stirs your soul, is the reaction from the people, is when you have the fans just eating up what you're doing. There's nothing like that. So it was definitely an adjustment. I'm still, so grateful that, for one, so many people lost their jobs during the height of the pandemic. So the fact that I was still working, that I still had the ability to do something that I loved, is a blessing, but it was definitely weird.
Yeah, and it was one of the few shows that kept going every single week, and it was amazing. Belated congratulations on winning. I would have shouted out congratulations, but I couldn't.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I've been holding that in.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And speaking of which, 2020 WWE draft, you were drafted to SmackDown, the rest of New Day to Raw. Can you tell me, were you given any idea or indication that was going to happen, or did you actually find out in the ring?
I'm trying to remember now, because it's wild to think it's been 4 years. I think we were given some heads up, but it was not very long before. It was, I want to say it was the day of, maybe just mere hours before. So we care so much about each other, and even beyond just our personal relationship, we just really think what we can bring as a trio really just adds so much to the show. So of course we were disappointed, and that's taking it lightly. But yeah, so we had a little bit of heads up. My expression, I get that meme all the time of me just head in my hand, sulking, but that was real. And I was also after a brutal Sheamus match too. So I was already beat up. He already put me through it, and then have the physical wounds, and then to also have the emotional wounds. It was a tough one, but those guys are so talented. I knew they'd be fine without me, but just our ability to be together, be on the same show, to have that bond is something that was definitely missed.
And as you say, that was in the lead up to you winning the Money in the Bank and cashing in against Bobby Lashley, becoming the WWE champion. But can you tell me what you consider to be your career highlights? You were the second ever NXT champion, multiple time tag team champions, winning it by yourself on one occasion, and all these other incredible things that you've done. Looking back, what are your favorite matches or moments so far?
It's a good question. I think favorite New Day match is probably the Usos Hell in a Cell. Was really cool. At the time, tag teams weren't really highlighted that way. We didn't really get the opportunity to do stuff like that. But that match is really special. And I always forget where matches are or what happened in them. But that's one of those ones that's burned in my head. That was in Detroit. I think it was Little Caesars. Then, because they changed arenas. But it was in Detroit, and I remember just how much, that rivalry was so special to us with the Usos, because we think so highly of them, no longer a tag team, but as a tag team, the way they see the business, and what we wanted out of our rivalry, what we wanted out of this feud, and the way they brought it. When you're in the ring with guys who creatively and physically are going to bring it on a level that is top notch, it forces you to bring out your best as well. And I think that's what we really just had with those guys, is it forced us to bring out our best. So definitely the Hell in a Cell match is one that's definitely up there, and one singles match that I really couldn't talk about for a long time, but now that he's back, I can.
Yeah.
Is the match I had with Punk
Right.
in 2013 was so important for me because at that time I was done. We've been done with the Dolph stuff. I moved on to AJ's Bodyguard. I was done with that, and I was really floundering. I was in a position where I, wasn't really on TV much. I remember coming to work weekly and I would look, they have the card up at a certain point in the day and you see all the matches and you see, oh, you're not on there. And you see, you talk to one of the producers, hey, do I have a backstage segment? Do I have anything today? Nothing. And, you do enough of that and you realize this is not going great, especially because I'm not that established. My time on the main roster has been about me being a heater or a bodyguard. It's always been about me. I've never been the central focus at that time. And it was the day, the start of this day, I believe it was Monday Night Raw. Once again, I was not booked, but I opened up my email, and at the time they would email you your travel for the next week. And I got my travel for the next week. And at the time, we would shoot Raw and we would shoot SmackDown the next day. Raw was live, SmackDown was taped. And a lot of the guys who were being pushed to NXT, sent back down to developmental, or who were losing their jobs were guys who just did SmackDown. So pretty much when I saw that I got the email that you're not needed for Raw and you're just doing SmackDown, it felt like, oh no, I need to do something right now, or I'm either going to be let go or I'm going to be sent back down to NXT. And who knows if I ever get an opportunity to be on the main roster again. And it was that same day, and I'm getting chills once again thinking about it, is because if this didn't happen, who knows where my career would be right now, or if it would have been done, a decade ago. But that day, I go to work and I find out that I actually have a match with CM Punk. And we sit down, talk about it, going through the match and whatnot. And, thankfully, like I felt like I delivered. And we went out there and we just did our thing. And I felt like I had a good showing. And it wasn't until I think later that day, or not even that day, I think it was a little bit later, his wife, AJ, told me he asked to work with me. He never would have revealed this. He never let me know. But if it wasn't for his wife, I never would have known. So because of him asking to work with me. And, and when I found out, I went to him and I said, I thanked him. And, he said so many glowing things about my talent and about how people like me deserve opportunities. And it really meant so much to me because from that, I don't know, I can't remember if it was the next SmackDown. I think it was the next SmackDown, but we have another match. He beats me again, but here comes Rybaxel with Paul Heyman. I was a heel my whole career on the main roster. I turned babyface on them, get cooking, and then that leads to a program with Curtis Axel where I win the IC title, and now my career is off to the races, and I'm in a good place. There were hiccups along the way too, but at least I get that opportunity to go from someone who was just known on the main roster as a bodyguard, get the matches with Punk. That sets things in motion for me to be established, to win the IC title. And then from there, I was able to get going. So that one is so important to me for many reasons. One, I was able to prove to myself that, yeah, I can hang with the guys who are the best in the world. Yeah, I belong here. And two, it saved my career. And I can't thank him enough for that. And I'm so grateful for it because I truly don't even know where my life would be if it wasn't for him going out of his way to look out for young talent.
It's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. Thank you for listening.
You're very welcome. You're in tremendous shape still. Are you hoping one day, if you can, to return to the ring? Is that a possibility? Apologies, I know you must get asked that a lot, but
no, you're good. It's one of those things where I just want to make the right decision. I'm so thankful that I feel so good. I really, in my day-to-day life, I have no restrictions. I don't even feel like someone who had a broken neck. But I broke my neck. I broke my C1 in two places, something called a Jefferson fracture. And it's something you often see in diving accidents when people are diving into shallow pools or surfaces with no water and they end up coming down on their head. So oftentimes that's fatal for so many people. And, I talked to a few doctors, one who did the surgery for Tyson Kidd, who had a very severe neck injury. And I also talked to the doctor that they sent me to at USF. And, both doctors were like, hey, please don't wrestle. They almost begging. So it's just one of those things where, I'm 37 now. I started wrestling when I was 23,
Mm.
and I think about the long list of injuries I've had. Most of them from playing football. I've torn my left ACL, torn my right ACL, broken my right patella, torn my right patella tendon, torn my left meniscus, torn my left pec, herniated discs in my low back, herniated discs in my neck, and broken my neck in 3 places. I've done a lot to my body over the years, and it's something that I've really loved. I've loved being in the ring. I've loved being an athlete, but at 37 now, I also think about what life is going to look like in 10 years, what life is going to look like at 50, at 60. And I want to live a good life. I don't want to be trapped in a broken vessel. So, for me, it's just making the right decision. No door has been permanently closed or permanently opened or any of those things. So no decision has really officially been made yet, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm really thankful for health, for life, for being in such a good place. And I just want to make the best decision for myself. So we'll see.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to do what's right for you. And, just sending you loads of love, whatever you end up doing. And I know just anytime people just even see you on screen's amazing, and so much talent, so much personality and charisma and all that other good stuff that you're going to do amazingly in whatever you do. And if that's back in the ring, amazing. And if it's outside of the ring in some other capacity, we'll be right there with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Now, speaking of which, I've got tickets to WrestleMania 40 because I'm bad with money.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll be there that weekend?
Yes, I will be. I will be there. In fact, I think we have some. Actually, yeah, I think we've already announced it. I can talk about it. So we have some things with Drew Barrymore, which will be a lot of fun. She's coming through. So we'll be doing something with her there. I also got to be a part of a really cool tryout show. I think it's still called Superstars of Tomorrow. But first season, it was centered around the tryouts in LA last year at Mania. I believe they're trying to do a second season. I haven't heard anything official, but I would love to be a part of the tryouts again in Philly for this Mania. So
Yeah.
as of now, I will definitely be there. And for me, it's so cool. So I was at the Rumble in St. Pete, which is just down the road from me.
Yeah.
I live in the Tampa area, and it's really cool because it just becomes like a big reunion in many ways. I get to see so many of my friends and people that I really love. So I'm always it's always nice to go back to the big shows and see people that you've spent a decade on the road with. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being in Philly, and hopefully I'll see you there.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Can you tell me what would be your dream match against anyone past and present in any kind of stipulation?
Oh, that's a good question. I've always said my go-to answer has always been Goldberg.
Yeah.
Because he was just my favorite as a kid. Dream matches, it's a hard one. There's so much great talent now, and the roster has even changed from the 2 years that I've been out. But if not Goldberg, who would I say? Yeah, you know what? I think something probably like a 6-man. I think a trios match. To do it again with Kofi and Woods would be that's the best way to end things. They've been such a big part of my career. But
Definitely.
man, to be in the what? It's a great match. Imperium, is doing great things. I think there's a lot of buzz. Gunther's just been amazing, been on an incredible run, and obviously, they've been locking horns with Imperium. So to be back for a match, like that would be big. But honestly, any 6-man with the brothers, with my guys, I think would be something that would mean a lot to me.
Yeah, I think Imperium would be amazing. I'd love to see you all sort of clash against each other.
Yeah, it'd be fun, and it's a cool contrast of styles too. They're so stoic and austere, and we're anything but. So yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, just even the promos would be so entertaining.
Agreed.
So I've asked you about your dream match, but there's something that's a level above a dream match that I need to know about. What would be your ultimate big meaty men slapping meat match?
Oh, that's a great question. You know what? I floated on the bump. I floated this idea of a big meaty man invitational. We're working on the name, but I can't take credit for this idea. Woods presented the idea to me originally, and apparently Ivar had also been talking about the idea. So I'm not the first one. I was just the one to broadcast it, but I think at WrestleMania it would be really, really cool to have some kind of a meaty man invitational, a multi-man match, a 4-way, maybe 6-way, however many qualified big men we can get in the ring. But right now, man, look at the roster. You have Bronson, you have Amos, you have Otis. You just have a gaggle of, and there are other large men too, but like people who aren't necessarily in a story right now. I think we have a myriad of guys. We have Ivar. we have at least four large barrel-chested men that could all be in a match, and I think it would be a lot of fun. I think oftentimes the guys who are in a storyline are often thrown into something. And there was that tag match last year that people, like, why is this on the card? Didn't have high expectations for, but it was so much fun
Yeah.
seeing, Braun coming around the corner and getting smacked by Dawkins and that reaction, and getting laid out. That was a lot of fun. So I think a match like this could bring that same kind of fun, and I think people would be into it. You attach a sponsor like maybe a Slim Jim, maybe an Arby's, someone who sells a lot of meat, and we crown our first inaugural Big Meaty Men Invitational King. We're working on the name. It's still in flux, but yes, something like that I think is what I'd like to see.
This sounds tremendous, and I can't imagine how reinforced that ring is going to have to be. Otherwise, everyone's going to end up in the basement.
Yes, yeah. They got to double, triple, maybe quadruple reinforce that ring.
Yeah.
Because you're right. You're right.
Even if there isn't a basement, they'll just end up having one.
Yes, they'll find one. They'll go so far, they'll end up in one.
Just in the center of the earth or something.
Yes.
Massive problem. So I have to say to you now, happy Black History Month. It's so important to speak out about social injustice, racism, and shine a spotlight on Black history for everybody. I want to talk to you about brand new animated short that I've seen just being released by Our Heroes Rock called Bridges. Absolutely love it. Can you tell me how you first got involved with that project?
Yes, thank you so much. So this all started as a response to the murder of George Floyd. We were all home, and I think for me that was really what made it difficult to shake. So this is during the height of the pandemic. We're all locked down, and typically our jobs are so busy that something like that shakes you. You see it, but you got to wake up early, the next morning to get on a flight, or you're going to the next town. And I think sometimes those things, they just kind of escape your mind because life gets in the way. But I think because we couldn't go anywhere, we were in our home. There was no running from this. And I had so many of my Black friends reached out, and we were having conversations about what it was like to be pulled over by the police. We had so many conversations about like how many of us had been accosted by the police or had negative interactions, or how many of us had just dealt with racism, and just feeling this weight and being tired of it and feeling like, man, when is this ever going to change? And just feeling so heavy. And I remember just not being able to shake this man's passing, the first time that someone who I had never met, who I'd never known, and it just weighed so heavily on us. And I had a conversation on our podcast with Kofi, with Woods, and I brought my friend Andreas Hale on. And Andreas, he's worked as a journalist, he's worked for BET, he's an activist as well. So he's just been in this space for so long, and he was able to so eloquently put into words what we were feeling. So we went from that. And eventually, I was on a walk, and it was one of the things like during the pandemic is I was just like, I kind of found a love for walking. So I just walked around my neighborhood for half an hour.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was thinking about is I had so many of my non-Black friends reach out and were like, hey, I want to know more. How can I learn? Who do I like? What books to read? Like, please inform me. And I thought, there's so many things that we can't do on a wrestling show. It's scripted, it's timed out, all those things. You can't just do whatever you want. But the one thing that I can control is what I wear, my wrestling gear. And Jonathan Davenport has designed our wrestling gear since 2015. He's worked with Woods even longer than that. And I eventually said, you know what, like, let's do something with the wrestling gear. And eventually we decided upon this idea of just putting as many of these historical figures, Black historical figures, all over the wrestling gear. Because my thought was, maybe someone's watching and pauses for a second, or sees a Lorraine Hansberry, they see a Ruby Bridges, they see one of these names and they think, oh, who is that? I want to learn more. I haven't been exposed to that. And they take a second. And we decided to do it in the style of Schoolhouse Rock, and which I really loved is so many people that I met backstage. I talked to someone in their 20s who works with WWE, and someone in their 50s who worked with WWE, and they all remembered the jingle about how a bill becomes a law from Schoolhouse Rock. And that's from decades and decades ago, but people still remember it. And I thought, you know what? Hip hop is so much a part of our culture now, and the language of it, it would just be really cool to do something like that, using these Black historical figures, but in the Schoolhouse Rock style. And we do the wrestling gear, and eventually, my buddy Andreas Hale says, you know what, this has to be more than just wrestling gear. So we all put our heads together, me, Andreas, and Jonathan Davenport, and we decided to have a Kickstarter, to start a Kickstarter to raise some money. Little did I know, while this guy that I've known for a long time, Jonathan Davenport, who's been designing wrestling gear, he's very humble, too humble. Little
Right.
did I know that he worked for the Disney Imagineers. He had wrote a movie before. He is a storyteller. This is what he does. He's far more than just a gear designer. And we had this conversation, and we decided to raise the money. We had the Kickstarter. We raised 130 grand. So many incredible people who helped support the project, and we just went from there. And it was like very early on. I just felt like we were so blessed. I felt like so many incredible things just kind of came our way. It felt, it's one of those things. A term I use often with my partners is it felt spiritual, the way things aligned. And it's been a real labor of love. It's something we have talked about every single day, the emails, the Zoom meetings, countless Zoom meetings with producers and artists. And you know what? Obviously breaking my neck is not a positive thing, but the one good thing was, during the last 2 years, I've been able to be more like involved in the entire process. I
Yeah.
haven't just been someone on the road who lends his name to it. Like, no, we've done this thing together. And that's kind of just been our journey. And we're so proud of this short. We want to tell more of these stories. We got an incredible original song from Rhapsody, a
Yeah.
beat from Eric the Architect. And Rhapsody is a two-time Grammy nominee. Eric the Architect is a producer. He's a member of the Flapper Zombies, and we've been friends. I'm a big fan of theirs for a long time. We just got so much incredible work from so many incredible people, and we just thought Ruby's story was one that was just a no-brainer to tell. You have this 6-year-old black girl in New Orleans in 1960, and she is just simply trying to go to school. And the amount of vitriol she was met with, there was at least one person who had a black doll and hung that doll in effigy outside the school. It's a 6-year-old little girl. You see the
Horrific.
pictures of it, and I think oftentimes we see these black and white pictures from the civil rights era, and we think, oh, that was so long ago. That was
Mm.
decades and decades ago. She's still in her 60s. She's younger
Yeah.
than both of my parents. This was not that long ago. These stories still matter. They need to be told. And also, I live in a state and in a country where so many people are trying to erase history. They're trying to deny the atrocities of yesteryear. And for me, it's not about pointing the finger. It's not about saying you are wrong, you're evil. It is about learning from our past missteps. It's about teaching stories of empathy, of understanding. It is about us understanding that we are, as cliche as it may sound, we are the human race. And life is hard enough. We don't need to add to it with discrimination, with racism, with all the horrible ills that are too prevalent. So we in this film, we really just wanted to tell a story that we thought was hugely important, a story that we should not forget. And we also wanted to teach a story of empathy and understanding.
Yeah.
And there's so many of us who are positively impacted by a reading rainbow or a magic school bus, and you learn all these incredible lessons. And we thought this is such a great opportunity to use storytelling, to use culture, to use animation, hip hop, sci-fi, to tell a story that is engaging, that is fun. It's not heavy, it's not pedantic, it's not dry. And I think so often with history, those things are often, that's how people feel. They
Right.
feel like, oh, okay, why do I need to learn this? It's boring. But one of the things that we really hope with our film is that people understand why this story matters and
Yeah.
what you can learn from Ruby. Besides racism and whatnot, one of the things that is a big part of our film is just being brave. Just going out into the world and taking that first step, even when you feel like people are against you or they don't understand you. It's being brave in the face of adversity, in the face of horrible things that are said your way or thrown your way. And that's really the message that we wanted to tell young people. And oftentimes you get to a certain age where those messages don't stick as well. But when you start with a young group, with young people, and you help tell these stories of empathy, of understanding, of why racism is wrong, of why
Yeah.
bigotry of any form is wrong. I really, our hope is that we can help raise a softer, more empathetic, more understanding, more connected generation of young people.
So important, and it's such a beautifully animated, accessible, historical story that I think will reach out to everybody that teaches empathy. And it's not something that just happened in the past, it's happening today. Society is so divisive around the world. People are always othering everyone else rather than welcoming and celebrating everyone, and it's so important to have representation on the screen. And I know how much it would have meant to you when you were a kid to have a cartoon like that to tell the stories of these really important people from the civil rights movement. And not only that, but to inspire people to speak up against what's going on, and also just to give people the courage and the confidence, and as you say, the bravery to be yourself. There's that scene at the beginning where the girl is in this virtual environment and everyone has these faceless avatars and she's herself and everyone's staring at her, and then later on they work out they can be themselves too, and they get to know each other, and it's a much better situation, isn't it?
Yeah, much better. And you're right. Like to me, it's about celebrating differences, and I don't like the term tolerance. I don't want to be tolerated. I want to be embraced. I want to be, it's beautiful that we're different. It is beautiful that we don't all look the same. How boring would that be? And I think teaching those messages at a young age is important. I often think about my childhood. There were times when you get these messages that as a black person, that to be successful, black people are only entertainers or they're athletes, and we are so much more than that. And
Yeah.
kids deserve to be able to see people who look like them, who have gone on to do incredible things. There's a man named Lonnie Johnson who has made hundreds of millions of dollars for Nerf. He invented the Super Soaker. Like we don't get these stories of he's just done incredible things, and he's taken the money that he's made and he's used it for research, for just these incredible things that help people. There's so many incredible people who are black, who are brown, who are different, from all different communities, who do incredible things that have nothing to do with dribbling a basketball or throwing a football or being an entertainer. And those are stories that we want to tell. So we really we're so proud of Bridges, but there's so much more work to do. There's
Yeah.
so many stories to be told, people to be celebrated as well, and there's so many incredible lessons to learn from their lives, from the way they carried themselves, and that's really our hope. So that's why we're just beating the drum for this thing, because we really do think it's special. We think the story is incredible, and we just want people to see it and to watch it and to sit down with their kids. And that's the cool thing. Our short's only been out for a couple days so far, and seeing the amount of pictures, people have sent pictures of the film on in their classroom, all attentive,
That's
or
amazing.
watching with their kids at home. We've gotten so many messages about people tearing up, who are moved by it, who love the film. And for us, it's not about getting a pat on the back. It's not about any of those things. We just want to demonstrate that there's an audience for this, that people want more. And the more people engage with it, the more viewership, the more numbers, we can take and say, hey, look, there's an audience for this. People are yearning for this. And it's one of those things that we looked around in the landscape, and we just didn't think anyone was telling stories quite like this right now. And I think it's such a great way to teach history, and a fun way. And a metaphor we've often used is, when I was a kid, if I had medicine or vitamins that I needed, oftentimes my parents would take it, they'd crush it up and put it in the applesauce. And that's what we want our film to be, is the applesauce. You sit down for just this enjoyable film. It's beautiful. The animation is incredible. We used an animation studio called Something's Awry, and their work is just beautiful. It is really gorgeous. So we want people to come for this fun short film with a 9-foot robot that I voice in this futuristic museum. We want it to be beautiful, all those things. But when you walk away, you have this incredible song, you have this jingle stuck in your head, you know the story of Ruby Bridges, you can't get out of your head, it's infectious, and you leave learning her story, you leave learning the story of empathy and understanding, and you get the vitamins, you get the medicine, even though you showed up for that delicious applesauce.
I remember being an older kid and realizing that mashed potato isn't supposed to be several colors of vegetable. And
Yes.
took me way too long to work that out. I'm like, why is it orange and green? And
getting those nutrients. Those
Yeah, I didn't need to
vegetables.
hide the carrots. I like the carrots. Don't know what's happening there. Would have just eaten them. You mentioned you voiced the character, executive producer. Also, how much fun was it going in and recording the voice of that character?
Oh, a blast. Just a blast. I have so much admiration and love for my partner, Johnny Davenport. He just created, to me, the perfect character for me. But I love getting to be a part of anything like this. I have done some voice acting in the past. Got to do a show called Laser Wolf on Adult Swim. That was a ton of fun. We got a couple seasons there, and I just really wanted to do more voice acting. And then this opportunity came along, and it was so much fun. We got to go to a studio here in Tampa, and just getting like he directed me, and we worked through the lines and everything, and I was just so happy with the performance. But yeah, it really is something that I love. I really do love. And as I've gotten older in my profession, I have loved so much that I am a kids entertainer. Like
Yeah.
I want to entertain everyone, but an opportunity to make kids laugh, to bring them more color. You know, we're always we bring the silliness, we bring the nonsense, but I really, my dream when I think about it, I think about the impact like someone like LeVar Burton had on young people and their love for reading. And I think to me, as an entertainer, like that's my pie in the sky dream goal, is to be a voice for a generation that helps teach them how important education is, how important empathy is, how important kindness is, just all these things. And I think too often we get these messages about, especially, for all of us, but for boys and for young men too, about what it means to be a man. And it's, and so many of them get awful messages about what that means. And my hope is that someone can see me, someone who has played football, someone who has been in the ring, in many ways. I like to think I'm a manly man. I got some muscles on me. But
You've got muscles on your muscles.
thank you. But that's not what makes you a man. Being a provider for your family, being there for your loved ones, standing up when you see things are wrong, being there for people who are weak, being there for people who aren't able to protect themselves, being there for people who are marginalized. That to me is what a man is. That's what a man does. A man stands up and does the right thing. Even when it's not the popular decision, you stand up for people. And that's my hope, is that we're able to get more of that messages across, because there are too many toxic messages of what it means to be a man, and so many are being led astray. But yeah, that really is my goal, is to show people that there is beauty in being kind, there is beauty in doing the right thing. Life is hard enough as is.
Yeah.
We all go, whether it's health, whether it's climate change, whatever it is, we're all going through something. And I think I just really see the beauty in connection, in community, and being there for each other. Because that's what we need. It's like we're social creatures. We are humans. That is how we are designed. We are designed to be there for each other, to build community. So we need more of that. And to teach these messages at a young age is something that's really important to me.
Such an important thing, and life is so short, and just spreading more kindness rather than division and make everyone's life better and kind of more celebrated world. We don't have to keep repeating history forever. You can actually pick up a book, learn from it, not just our stories, but other people's stories, other communities, other countries, other religions, other everything's stories, and it'd be less awful. Wouldn't it be great if the news every day just had happy stories on it?
I know. It's I would love that. It's kind of one of the reasons, the one news magazine show I watch is CBS Sunday Morning. And it's
Yeah.
because it's filled with so many positive stories, and you're learning about art and culture, and that's the goal. That is the goal. I think it's too easy to monetize toxicity. It's too easy to, you know, I think oftentimes people are divisive because they know it'll get them more attention, more clicks, more views, all those things that don't really matter at the end of the day.
No.
And I think we need to show more people that it's beautiful to be a good person, that it's beautiful to live a good life, and to be good to others, and to be there for each other. So, I'm also someone who never really saw myself. I didn't want to be a leader. I just kind of wanted to hang off in the back, do my thing and whatnot. But then, you look at the world, and you think, man, why isn't someone doing this? Why aren't they making that? Why doesn't this exist? And I got to a point where I was like, oh, I have to, as cliche as it can sound, be the change that you want to see in the world. I have to do my part. I have to, I have to pick up my pitchfork and I have to get to digging. I have to do, I have to do my part. And I'm blessed to have a platform. I have people who know who I am, and I have to do my part. So that has been my undertaking. Is I want to spend as many years as I have left on this earth. Is I want to do some good with it, and I hope that we can continue. Just I love telling stories, and Johnny and I talked about that all the time. Something we talk about often is
Mm.
being raised on media. I spent so much of my life in front of a TV, and you can learn so much from shows, from film. It can really guide you, and we can use this opportunity to tell these stories that touch people, that move people, that change their hearts and minds, that open them up. So yeah, that's our goal and that's our mission. And who knows how much work we have ahead of us? Who knows where we're going? But we're gonna try and we're gonna keep at it because it means a lot to us.
It's a beautiful, special, and really important thing, and I wish you the very best of luck with it. Can you tell me, by the way, I love the visual look of the animated short. It's made by Some Things Rye, the animation studio. Can you tell me how long it was in development? You mentioned 2 years. Was that the entire time it took to animate and edit and all that good stuff? And was there a time where you were considering different visual styles for it as well, like how the characters might look and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we originally raised 130 grand, and some of that we have to use for our backers as well. We have a set of rewards. Some of them are not physical, but a lot of them are. We have hoodies and whatnot, and so at the end of the day, we had about 100 grand to work with. We also have to pay taxes on that as well, but we had about 100 grand to work with for the animation, and we realized, oh, to tell this story the way we want to, it's going to be more than that, about double. So we for a while we sat around. We had not very long, but Johnny came to me and said, you know what, I can cut this. He wrote a script that we loved,
Mm.
and he was trying to tighten it up and tighten it up. And at one point, he just came to me and said, honestly, like, hey, we can cut this down and just make essentially a sizzle reel, but I don't know. And I thought, man, we put too much work into this. This means too much to allow that. So I ended up kicking in, the rest of the money that we needed to finish it. So there was a time where we thought about, or just doing the music video as well, because it's something that can be lifted out. We got an incredible music video that we really love. Again, the song is with Rhapsody
Yeah.
and produced by Eric the Architect. And we could have just made that with the money we raised, but to me, that's in many ways, I think that would have been viewed as just a PSA, or as that's not a show, that's not a film, that's not something that you can carry on and time again, that's cohesive and telling a story. And we thought, like, no, let's make the sacrifice. Let's do it the right way. So yeah, we thought about cutting it short, but we said, nah, we really want to tell the story the way that we want to. So kicked in the rest of the money and we ended up getting it made. But yeah, so we had the Kickstarter I think it culminated in 2021 around WrestleMania, because we thought during that time we can do press and whatnot. So I think around April of 2021 we were done with the Kickstarter, and we wanted to see how much money we would raise before we started writing or anything. So Johnny started writing the script after that. And yeah, so I've learned so much about animation and about this process. There is a lot that goes into it,
There
and the
is.
cool thing is, like, this is such an international project as well. So our director for our voice performances lives in Portugal, an incredible woman named Paula Wilson. She was so lovely. She also voices our mom in the film. She did such an incredible job. And so she's in Portugal. We have someone working on our modeling who is in Australia. We have a team, their name is Toons with a Z, in India, that we send to do the actual animation. You get the stuff back from them, and it looks like a bit like a PS1 game,
Yeah,
very,
yeah.
and it's Something's Awry that really puts all the finishing touches on it, and whatnot, with the rendering and modeling and all that jazz. But yeah, it's really just been an interesting process. But you learn how much work goes into animation. But we were so blessed to have an incredible team. And yeah, it took us. So our film, I think, was actually finished. I can't remember exactly. Sometime, maybe around, was it summer of last year? So we've been sitting on it for a little bit because we're trying to find the right time to
Yeah.
roll it out. But all in all, it was about a 2-year process from the beginning of the writing to the conclusion of it being completely finished.
Now, of course, the Hall of Heroes features even more legendary historical figures. Is there a chance that we might see more episodes? Will there perhaps be another Kickstarter or anything like that?
That is the dream. That is really the goal, is to just tell more of these stories. Right now we have a pitch deck that I love. Johnny already has 3 seasons mapped out. My agent has it and is now working on shopping it. So really for us, we could do another Kickstarter, but really right now our goal is to take the short film, take our pitch deck and all of our assets and shop it around. And we would love, the dream is to have a series, to have a major streamer behind us, helping us, find it, because like I said, it is very expensive. This endeavor is expensive for this quality of animation, and we want it to look good. Because one of the things that we talk about is too often, when we were kids, Black projects often felt like they didn't have the same budget, and we didn't want to shortchange people. We didn't want to have a lower grade of animation just to make sure this happened. We want to give people the very best for this thing. So that is our goal, and that's really why we've just been pounding the pavement and asking people to watch. If you're annoyed by my tweeting or my posting, I am sorry, because I will be spending this entire month on a daily basis tweeting images. We have a bunch more really cool stuff. And I think too, if you're just a fan of animation, I think it's really cool to look at modeling. I think it's cool to look at concept art. There's so many cool things that we just want to release to the world. And we have so many, some other things that we have that we're going to be doling out throughout the month of February to celebrate Black History Month. But our goal is to drum up as much noise as possible, get as many views as possible, so that we can say to buyers, look, people want this. People are yearning for it. There is a market for it. And so that's the goal. That's why we're here.
And the most important thing in this entire interview, where can people go and watch it?
Yes, thank you very much. You can go to the Our Heroes Rock YouTube page. It is our YouTube page. It is pretty new. We don't have a ton of subscribers. It's a new page, but again, you can find the links there on my Twitter. They're on my Instagram, WWE Big E. It's all over there. But you can also just Google the Our Heroes Rock YouTube and look for our short film, Bridges. So yeah, that's where it is.
I highly recommend that everybody does that. The animated short's been out for a few days. What has the reaction been like?
It's been beautiful. It's been so beautiful. The messages of tears, of the wrestling club in New York, they're incredible. Victor Perry reached out and sent his class talking about the way they felt about it, and seeing kids understand it and understand the messages. Too, one of the things that I love, people are moved by so many different parts of the film. But one thing that I didn't even really think about when I was first watching the film and first loving it is how many people connect with Maya, our protagonist in the story, with her isolation, with her inability to connect with friends, and how she was able to use gaming to connect with friends. And, I think so often, parents are like, hey, stop playing video games, but I've had so many people, Woods, Xavier Woods, my partner, my brother, he's someone who told me, video games were so instrumental in him connecting with friends.
Yeah.
And I think one of the cool things is we've had several people reach out and say, I really resonated with that part of the film because that's how I connected with my first friends. That's how I made communities online. And so many of us, when we were kids, you make friends out, I'm 37. So, in the 90s, you make friends on the playground, going outside, doing those things. But in this digital age, so many of us, we connect with people through gaming, through being online. And I think that was such a beautiful element of the film that people really connected with and resonated with. And I just love that people are finding the thing in the film that they love, that speaks to them. And the reason I can talk so much about this film is I really believe in it. It's not just because it's something that I've done or I'm a part of, or I want to see continue to grow. I just believe in what we're doing. Even if I wasn't doing this myself, I would want to support something like this because I think it matters. I really do.
It's got such a great contemporary and futuristic setting to teach people about the past, and perhaps, as you say, people you may not have known about that you can then go read their Wikipedia and see they've got a book out and have that as being a starting point to learn more. It's really well done. The animation quality is amazing. I love the song. I've watched the cartoon several times now, and I'm so happy that it exists. And I really want everyone to go and watch it, and I need to see more of this. I need to see all 3 seasons of it, and even more, because there's a trillion. It's probably not a trillion. There's lots of inspiring people throughout history. There might be a trillion. I don't know. There could be. I've counted. Exciting. But yeah, so everyone needs to go and watch that. I must ask you, by the way, is there any chance that we might see some merchandise in the future? It lends itself so well to action figures or plushies or even books extending
Yes.
the universe.
Yes, very much so. And we have even beyond that, we have a ton of other ideas and things we want to do. But yes, exactly. That's what we want. That's what we're hoping for. We were actually thinking about starting a merch store in time for this, but it's in many ways we're a very ragtag group. We're not backed by a big studio or any of those things. It's just me and my partners, and we're just doing our best. We met with production companies and other people, and those relationships, they just weren't a great fit for us. And we thought, you know what? Let's do things our way. So yes, we would love to get to a merch store, but we need more hands on deck. We need more resources. So we're trying to get there. But that's one of the things that I told Johnny is I just see Etor, and look, I know I'm biased. I know that I voice Etor as well, but he is so toyetic. And I feel like you almost want to reach to the screen and touch him, but yes, I would love to have merchandise and support the mission. There are things that we talk about too. With like, I would love to have an Our Heroes Rock Foundation. I would love to be able to give back to education, scholarships, whether it's students or whether it's artists. There's just so many incredible opportunities. But this is the first step for us, is getting the short out there, getting bridges out there for the world, and hopefully we can build as much momentum as possible, get as much noise as possible, and then we can have those things like a merch store, and we can start really building this thing out. Because for us, our intention is not for this to be a one and done thing by any means. Like, we want to continue to tell these stories, to do this work for years and years to come. And we have some other things that right now are in process to continue to add to our YouTube page. And I'm so excited about the things that we're building. But yeah, that's the goal, to get there one day.
That's amazing. So everyone needs to go and find Our Heroes Rock on YouTube, subscribe straight away, watch Bridges. It's a beautiful animated short. People that subscribe to my show know that I love animation. I've got a degree in animation, and I've spoken to people from Disney and Aardman and Academy Award winners. And I love this cartoon, and I really want to see more of it, because I think it's really important that the world is more connected and kinder. And it's such an easy thing to do, and I highly recommend it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You're very welcome. By the way, can you tell me who inspired you growing up or now?
Yeah. So I grew up, I'm not sure if this is a name you'd be familiar with, but Derek Brooks was a linebacker for the Florida State Seminoles. I grew up in Florida. He also was a linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in my city. I think one of the things I was inspired by is not only did he play for my favorite teams as a kid, and he was an incredible player, a Hall of Famer, but in the news every year, he would take a bunch of kids who did well in school, who were underprivileged, and he would take them on these safaris and give them these incredible experiences. And I think those are the people that inspire me the most, are people who have all these talents and abilities, and they can use them selfishly, but they take the time to give back. So Derek Brooks was definitely someone I was inspired by. And, he's been friends with Titus, and he's been on the road, and I've had chances to speak to him and to say thank you. And he's such a warm, caring human being. So that's it, really. Especially as I get older, like I'm motivated by people who give back. I'm motivated by good people who use their platforms responsibly. You can be the richest person in the world, you could be the most accomplished, but if you don't do anything to give back, if you don't do anything to bless others, if you're unkind, if you're exploitative, it's who cares? Who cares about all the other things, So yeah, Derek Brooks was someone who I think was in many ways a role model for me, because of the way he used the platform. Same thing with Work Done. Work Done was also someone who played at FSU, at Florida State, and he played for the Buccaneers as well as a running back. And every single year, his mother tragically was killed in the line of duty as a police officer when he was young. But he's someone who could use his pain, and he could use it for negative, but instead he started this foundation where even not even every single year. I think it's at hundreds now, but he would pay the down payment for an underprivileged family for a new house. So we would give people
Wow.
their first home, and he would do this time and time and time again. And it's so inspiring because he helped so many people. He used his platform, he used his ability during his playing days when it could have been all about him, and he blessed others' lives. So those were the athletes that I looked up to, because they use their platform to give back.
That's amazing. I can see that definitely shining through in you as well.
I'm trying. I got a lot of work to do. I gotta get there, but we're trying.
So here's a question I ask every guest on the Sarah O'Connell show. Can you tell me a fun fact about you, something we may not know, a hobby, a party trick, something like that?
Ooh, these questions are always hard for me anytime I get them, because I feel like I try to be an open book, and I also feel like I'm kind of boring. I really don't do a whole lot. I'm trying to think of anything that people don't know. I grew up in the church, and I was actually, I think I've talked about this before, but maybe everyone doesn't know. So I actually was a preacher for a little bit as a kid. I was one of those child preachers for a bit in my dad's church. That was a thing that I did for a few years. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I like being open. I don't think there's a lot that I hold on to. That might be it. I don't really have. I wish I could play an instrument or speak. I took Latin for 5 years instead. I don't know why. Why did I take Latin? They told me it was good for my SATs. That's why I took Latin. I should have taken Spanish. I live in Florida and don't know a lick of Spanish or anything. It's a shame. But yeah, let's go with the child preacher thing. That's my fun fact, I
That's a
guess.
good
If
fun
that's
fact.
fun.
I love it.
Thank you.
So can you tell me what else you're working on? I know you're super busy. Any plans for 2024 you can reveal?
Ooh, I'm trying to think about the things that I can reveal. I am a part of something I can't really talk about yet, but it's supposed to be out this year. It's really, really cool. An animated project, and people are gonna love it. I'm not a big part of the animated project, but I'm a part of it, and it's gonna be a big deal, and I can't wait for people to see it. Can't really talk too much about that. I'm trying to think what else is on the horizons. We're in talks for a few different things. So my partner Johnny Davenport, who wrote our short film Bridges, he directed
Yeah.
it. He's incredible, our gear designer. He also wrote a movie called F Plus. It is an incredible, fun family film. I'm in it. I got to play a parent, which I now realize, like, oh, I'm old enough to play the parent of a middle schooler. It's very sobering, but it was so fun. We got to shoot it in Central Florida. But Randy Couture is in it. Jennifer Esposito, Tommy Davidson, really some really cool names, and the film was just such. It was a ton of fun, and shout out to the director Kenny Beaumont, an incredible human being, incredible director as well. So this is my first feature film, and to get to be a part of it with friends, to do it locally. I had an incredible scene partner in Aaron Klein, just the best. So I'm really excited for people to see this film. It's really, really going to blow a lot of people away. It's so much fun, and Johnny's brilliant. So F Plus is a movie to look out for, a fun family movie. It's a middle school heist film, which is great
Oh
because you get to,
wow.
and it's fun. It's really fun. And the kids, the cast is incredible. These young people are so inspiring, and to get to meet them and talk to them and see how grounded they are. Ah, so many incredible performances. So look out for F plus. Trying to think. I realized a few years ago, I used to be someone who would just go to work, and I was very good sitting on my couch doing nothing. When I was done wrestling, I would just, delete all my socials and retire in Arizona or something. But I can't sit still. I like being busy. I like doing things that mean something to me. So I have a ton of different things that I'm working on that hopefully I'll be able to announce and talk about publicly soon. But
Mm.
it's been a really an interesting time for me. I've used this time the last 2 years since I've been out with a broken neck, and it hasn't even, in many ways, I feel like it hasn't been purposeful, but all these incredible things have just kind of fallen into my lap. All these incredible opportunities and things that mean something to me. So it's been exciting. And another thing I should talk about with our short film is we got nominated for an NAACP Image Award. So that's pretty incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So yeah, Bridges is nominated for an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Short Film, and that is March 16th. And yeah, we're excited about that as well. But yeah, it's really just been a great time for me. For people who are worried about me or any of those things since I've been out, please don't be. I have been in such great spirits. I really have the blessing of being around some incredible partners. I'm so thankful for them because all these things I'm doing, I could not do on my own. There's no way I could do them on my own. I just have a bunch of great people around me who are super talented, ambitious, hardworking, and I'm blessed for that.
I'm so happy to hear you're doing amazingly, and I'm excited to hear about all these projects coming out in the coming months and years. And you're obviously invited back anytime to speak about all of them.
Thank you so much.
Can you tell me, by the way, if you're planning to write an autobiography at any point?
I always said no. I never thought anyone would care about my story. But recently, Johnny and other people that I trust and look up to have said that I was foolish for thinking that way. I don't know. So I was an avid reader as a kid, even through college. Loved to write. Just wrote all the time when I was younger. Then I started wrestling, and you're on the road a lot, and I kind of, that dissipated. But I'm doing a better job of getting back into reading and whatnot, especially the last couple of years. I started a novel. I got like 40 pages into a novel too, maybe like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But then kind of put that on the back burner. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with writing. It is, I get really excited about what I'm writing, and I think I got gems, and I look back at it, 5 minutes later, and I think I hate it, and I got to start from scratch. I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun doing what I'm doing now. I am generally uncomfortable making things about me or about my story. I feel like it's a lot easier for me. I could talk about wrestling when I'm able to talk about Woods and Kofi. I'm able to talk about our film because I'm really not that big of a part of it. Is I am a big part of it, but in many ways, if it wasn't for Johnny, if it wasn't for Andreas, this thing wouldn't be a thing. So I feel like I can talk about the things that I'm associated with because I have incredible partners. But there's something about writing an autobiography that is so much about you. It's about me. It's so auteur focused that I don't know. Maybe I'm not. I shut the door on it before, and I was told that I was being foolish for shutting the door on it. So
I think you're such an inspirational person, and you've done so much and achieved so much already. And I know you're going to do a trillion other amazing things as well. And I'd love to read it or listen to the audiobook of it or whatever it is. And I know tons of other people would too. And yeah, it'd be really great to see.
well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I feel blessed to have had a life that people are interested in learning more about. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but the ups have been so good, and life has been really great lately. It's been really beautiful, so I'm thankful for all those things.
I'm very pleased to hear it. And speaking of your life, you've got a birthday coming up March 1st. Have you got any plans to celebrate?
I am not a birthday celebration person. I have no plans to celebrate, and I typically like people to forget that I have a birthday coming up. But no, so I'm one of those people. I like celebrating others. I just I don't feel like I need to be celebrated. Who knows? But yeah, I'll be 38, which it just comes quickly. But I've
Yes.
loved my 30s. I was someone I feared turning 30 so much as so many people in their 20s do. But I look back now, my 30s have been so much better than my 20s by leaps and bounds. So, and I've heard great things about your 40s as well, and I'm excited for all that comes. But no current plans to celebrate at all. So we'll see.
I've had to adopt the perspective that I'd rather get as old as possible than the alternative.
You're right. It's funny. I've thought a lot about that phrase, and I've heard it a lot, especially the last few weeks. It's a privilege to grow older. It's a lot better than
Yeah,
the alternative. I still want to be here. There's hopefully have a lot of good years ahead. So you're right.
because the alternative, as we know from the movie, is Benjamin Button. You start growing younger and younger, and that becomes a problem too.
Yes, yeah. You don't want to be an old man in a baby body. That's weird.
It's time for your big ending. Have you got any messages for people watching the Sarah O'Connell show and your fans around the world?
Yes, I want to say thank you so much to everyone who has supported me, who reached out when I broke my neck, just everyone who's shown me so much love. It is really such an incredible community. I think so oftentimes, especially in wrestling, we focus on the negative, we focus on the toxicity, but I have met so many incredible, loving people. And I want to say thank you so much because you have all made me feel loved and supported. And I don't take that for granted at all. So thank you very much. And please watch Bridges on the Our Heroes Rock YouTube channel. We're very, very proud of the film. We think you'll enjoy it. We think it's incredible. So thank you once again for everything. Please support our film if you can. Spread the word. We need people to spread the word to let others know as well. But thank you all for just being great. So many great people in my life, and I'm thankful.
Well, Etor, you and Big E, thank you so much for coming on my show today and helping to celebrate your career and your amazing must-watch new animated short, Bridges.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I wish you every success with it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing everything else that comes out in that connected universe and learning about more inspirational, amazing people too. And thank you to everybody watching. Be sure to share, subscribe, give this video a big thumbs up, and leave lots of lovely comments. I'll see you all again soon for another episode of The Sarah O'Connell Show. Bye.
Oh, WWE Universe! Don't you dare be sour. Subscribe to the Sarah O'Connell Show and feel the power.
Thank you so much for your time. You're amazing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And this was great. A lot of fun. I love long form interviews. And I think sometimes people are apologetic, like, no, let's like keep it short. But I like, it gives you the space to really be able to talk outside of just sound bites. Thanks, Sarah.